Have you ever felt invisible in a conversation? Like your words didn't matter, or worse, someone constantly crossed your boundaries without a second thought. You're not alone. Disrespect happens everywhere, at work, in relationships, and even among friends. The real danger. Most people ignore the early signs until it's too late. Why this video matters. Disrespect, when tolerated, chips away at your confidence, mental peace, and self-worth. Many people struggle with handling it, fearing they might come off as rude or aggressive. You don't have to fight, argue, or explain yourself. There are powerful, strategic ways to command respect without saying a word. Key questions will answer. What are the subtle and obvious signs that someone doesn't respect you? Why do people act this way? Is it intentional or unconscious? What are the 5 smartest ways to respond and regain your power? Thesis statement. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. Respect starts with how you allow others to treat you. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools and mindset to demand respect effortlessly, without lowering yourself to their level. Now, let's dive in. 1. They constantly interrupt you. Have you ever been in the middle of a sentence, fully engaged in explaining your point, only to be cut off like you weren't even there? Maybe it was during a meeting at work, a conversation with friends, or even a casual chat with family. Example situations. You're presenting an idea at work, and someone repeatedly talks over you, as if your words don't matter. You're telling a personal story, and a friend suddenly hijacks the conversation to talk about themselves instead. At first, you might think, maybe they're just excited, or maybe they didn't mean to interrupt. But if this happens repeatedly, it's a sign of something deeper, a lack of respect. Why this happens? People who frequently interrupt others tend to fall into 3 categories. Ego-driven individuals, they believe their words are more important than yours. Subtle manipulators, they want control over conversations, ensuring they're always in the spotlight. People who simply lack awareness, they don't realize how dismissive their behavior is. How to identify it? Notice if certain people only listen to respond, rather than truly listening to understand. Pay attention to how they react when you call them out. Do they apologize and correct their behavior, or do they dismiss it? The unspoken message. When someone constantly interrupts you, they are subtly saying, "What I have to say is more important than you." Over time, this can erode your confidence, making you feel like your voice doesn't matter. But here's the truth, your voice does matter. Let's talk about what you can do to handle this in a way that commands respect, without unnecessary conflict. 2. They make passive-aggressive or sarcastic comments. You walk into a room, and someone greets you with, "Oh wow, you finally showed up on time today." You mention that you're taking a vacation, and a coworker smirks and says, "Must be nice to have so much free time." At first, these comments might seem harmless, maybe even humorous. But over time, they start to feel like tiny daggers, subtly chipping away at your confidence and self-worth. Example situations. A family member makes a backhanded compliment like, "You actually look nice today." A friend dismisses your achievements with, "Well, of course, things always work out for you, don't they?" A colleague constantly undermines you with sarcasm but follows it up with, "I was just joking." Can't you take a joke? Why this happens? Passive-aggressive and sarcastic comments are often used as covert weapons of disrespect. People who rely on this tactic usually have one or more of the following motivations. A need for control, they want to feel superior without direct confrontation. Insecurity and jealousy, they subtly put you down to make themselves feel better. Avoidance of responsibility, they use sarcasm to mask their real feelings and avoid accountability. How to spot it? They always laugh it off with phrases like, "Relax, it's just a joke." Their words make you feel small, defensive, or uncomfortable even when they claim they're harmless. They rarely, if ever, offer genuine compliments or constructive feedback. The unspoken message. When someone frequently makes sarcastic remarks at your expense, they're not just joking, they're subtly asserting dominance, making sure you feel less than while they stay in control. But here's the reality, you don't have to accept this disguised disrespect. In the next section, let's explore how to handle this behavior with confidence and without letting it get under your skin. They dismiss your ideas or feelings. Have you ever shared a concern, only to be told you're overreacting? Or maybe you presented an idea at work, only to be ignored, until someone else repeated it and suddenly, it became a great suggestion. This is not a coincidence. It's a clear sign of disrespect. Why does this happen? Some people dismiss others to boost their own ego, they feel more important when they invalidate your emotions or ideas. Others do it out of habit, never considering perspectives outside of their own. Regardless of the reason, when someone consistently undervalues your input, they're sending you a message. Your thoughts don't matter. How to spot it? Do they only acknowledge ideas from certain people but shut you down? Do they belittle your emotions and call you too sensitive? Do they ignore your input but later repeat it as if it were their own? This behavior isn't just frustrating, it's damaging. It can make you doubt yourself, suppress your opinions, and even lose confidence over time. But here's the truth, you are not imagining it. You are not being too sensitive. Your voice matters. Real-life example. Picture this, you're in a meeting. You bring up a solution to a problem, but no one acknowledges it. Then, minutes later, someone else, perhaps a louder, more assertive person, repeats the same idea, and suddenly, everyone praises it. How does that make you feel? Invisible? Undervalued? That's exactly what they want. The silent power move. Next time, don't let it slide. Instead, keycap one, pause and call it out calmly. If someone repeats your idea, say, "I'm glad you agree, I actually mentioned that earlier." Keycap 2, use strategic silence. When they dismiss your emotions, pause and hold eye contact. Let them sit with their own disrespect. Keycap 3, protect your energy. If someone constantly undermines you, stop wasting your breath on them. Redirect your thoughts and effort toward people who actually listen. Respect isn't demanded with words, it's demonstrated in how you react. If you let people silence you, they will continue to do it. But if you stand firm, even in silence, they will begin to notice. You don't need validation from those who refuse to respect you. Your worth is not up for debate. They cross your boundaries repeatedly. Imagine setting a simple boundary, "Please don't call me after 9 p.m., and yet, they still call anyway. Or perhaps you've told someone you're uncomfortable lending out your personal belongings, but they keep borrowing things without asking. This isn't forgetfulness. It's disrespect. Why does this happen? Some people test boundaries to see how much they can get away with. They push limits, knowing that if you don't enforce them, they can keep doing whatever they want. Others feel entitled to your time, space, or resources. They assume you'll always say yes, or worse, they guilt-trip you when you try to say no. If you don't firmly reinforce your boundaries, they will continue to ignore them. How to spot it? They make you feel guilty for saying no. They keep pushing back when you set a limit. They act like your time, space, or resources are theirs to take. When people repeatedly cross your boundaries, it's not an accident, it's a test. They are checking whether you will stand your ground or let them walk all over you. Real-life example. Let's say you have a friend who always shows up unannounced at your house. The first time, you let it slide. The second time, you tell them you prefer a heads-up before they visit. But despite your clear request, they keep showing up without warning. At this point, they are not just being inconsiderate. They are ignoring your needs to satisfy their own. How to respond with power. Keycap 1, state your boundary clearly. Don't say, "I prefer if you didn't call late." Instead, say, "I do not take calls after 9 p.m. If you call, I won't answer." Keycap 2. Enforce consequences. If someone borrows something without asking, don't just tell them not to do it again, take action. Say, I can't lend things out anymore because people haven't respected my boundaries. Keycap 3. Don't explain or apologize. The more you justify your boundary, the more they will argue against it. Keep it simple, this is how I operate. Respect is not about what you say, it's about what you tolerate. The moment you stop reinforcing your boundaries, you give them permission to keep breaking them. People will only respect your boundaries if you do first. They only contact you when they need something. Have you ever noticed someone who disappears for months, only to suddenly reach out when they need a favor? Maybe it's a so-called friend who only calls when they need money, help moving, or emotional support, but they never check in on you otherwise. Or perhaps it's a coworker who acts like you don't exist, until they need your expertise to finish a project at the last minute. Why does this happen? They see relationships as transactions, not connections. To them, people are just tools, stepping stones to get what they want. They don't respect your time or effort. If they did, they would value your presence beyond what you can provide. They are opportunistic. Some people only invest in relationships that serve their needs, ignoring any form of reciprocity. How to spot it? They never check on you unless they want something. Conversations always revolve around their needs. The moment you say no, they disappear again. This pattern isn't just selfish, it's disrespectful. Real connections are built on mutual care and support, not one-sided favors. Real-life example. Let's say you have a friend, Mark. You used to hang out often, but over time, he stopped reaching out. No calls. No texts. Then, one day, he suddenly messages you, acting all friendly. At first, you think he wants to catch up, but soon enough, he asks. Hey, can you lend me some money? I promise I'll pay you back soon. Sound familiar? People like Mark don't see friendships as valuable until they need something. They treat relationships like an ATM, only making a withdrawal when it benefits them. How to respond with power. Keycap 1. Test them. Next time they reach out, try this: instead of saying yes immediately, ask them how they've been doing. If they avoid answering and jump straight to their request, you have your answer. Keycap 2. Set boundaries. Say, I can't help with that, but I hope you're doing well. Watch how they react. Do they stay in touch, or do they vanish again? Keycap 3. Reevaluate the relationship. If someone only values you when they need something, do they deserve a place in your life? Remember, people who truly respect you will be there even when they don't need anything. Friendship is not about convenience. It's about connection. They try to undermine you subtly. Some people don't disrespect you outright, instead, they undermine you in subtle ways. Example. You finally finish a big project at work, and they say, "Wow, I didn't expect you to pull that off." You hear from a friend that someone has been downplaying your achievements, saying, "Yeah, they got promoted, but it's probably just luck." These passive-aggressive attacks are meant to make you doubt yourself while allowing them to appear innocent. Why does this happen? Insecurity and jealousy. Some people can't stand seeing others succeed. They feel threatened by your progress. Instead of working on themselves, they tear others down to feel superior. They want control. By planting seeds of doubt, they hope to make you question your own abilities. How to spot it? Fake compliments that sound supportive but contain hidden insults. Example, "I'm so impressed you got that job. I thought they were looking for someone with more experience." Rumors and gossip meant to damage your reputation. They minimize your efforts, saying things like, "Well, anyone could have done that." This type of manipulation is dangerous because it can erode your confidence over time. Real-life example. Imagine you're excelling at work. You put in long hours, lead a major project, and get recognized by your boss. But one of your colleagues, let's call him James, can't seem to be happy for you. Instead of congratulating you, he smirks and says, "Wow, they must have been really desperate for someone to lead that project." Later, you hear from another coworker that James has been telling others you only got the recognition because you're lucky or because you have the right connections. This subtle sabotage is a sign that someone doesn't respect you and feels threatened by your success. How to respond with power. Keycap 1. Call it out directly. If someone gives you a backhanded compliment, respond with confidence. "Thanks. I worked really hard on that." This puts them in a position where they either have to acknowledge your success or expose their bitterness. Keycap 2. Refuse to engage in gossip. If someone is spreading rumors about you, don't play their game. Let your actions and success speak louder than their words. Keycap 3. Surround yourself with people who celebrate you. Not everyone deserves a front row seat in your life. If someone consistently tries to tear you down, distance yourself from them. Confidence is the best response to those who try to undermine you. They ignore your time and priorities. Time is one of the most valuable things we have. When someone doesn't respect your time, they don't respect you. Example. They always show up late to meetings, hangouts, or appointments, without apologizing. They expect you to drop everything when they need something, but when you need them, they're suddenly too busy. They make plans, cancel last minute, and act like it's no big deal. Why does this happen? They see their time as more important than yours. Some people genuinely believe their schedule matters more. They assume you will always accommodate them. When you let it slide, they learn that you'll keep tolerating it. They lack basic respect for other people's commitments. They don't think your time, energy, or priorities deserve consideration. How to spot it? Do they only make plans when it's convenient for them? Do they apologize when they waste your time, or do they act like it's normal? When you need them, do they show the same level of respect you give them? Real-life example. Imagine this: you have a friend, let's call him Mike, who always asks you for favors. He calls last minute and asks you to help him move. He needs a ride but never offers gas money. He's always late when meeting up, making you wait. One day, you need a favor from him, just something simple, like help picking up something from the store. But suddenly, Mike is too busy or can't fit it into his schedule. Now you see the pattern. It was never about mutual respect, it was about convenience. How to respond with power. Keycap 1. Start setting boundaries. Next time they ask you for something last minute, say, "I need more notice for things like this. I won't be able to help this time." Keycap 2. Call out their pattern. If they're always late, say directly, "I've noticed you're usually late when we meet up. Can you let me know in advance if you can't make it on time?" Keycap 3. Stop prioritizing people who don't prioritize you. Your time is valuable. If someone repeatedly disrespects it, stop giving them access to it. Respect isn't just about words, it's about valuing someone's time, energy, and effort. Disrespect is like a test. People push boundaries to see how much they can get away with. The good news? You don't have to play their game. Instead of reacting emotionally or letting their behavior drain you, you can respond strategically, calm, in control, and untouchable. Silence is power. And the silent stare. It's one of the most underrated weapons in human psychology. When someone disrespects you, whether they interrupt, mock, or belittle you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, argue, or fire back. But what if you did nothing? What if, instead of giving them the reaction they crave, you simply paused, and stared? A calm, unshaken, piercing stare can do more than any words ever could. Why? Because it shifts the power dynamic. Suddenly, they are the ones left to sit in the discomfort of their own actions. Imagine this: you're in a meeting, sharing your thoughts, when someone cuts you off, again. Instead of speaking over them or trying to reclaim your space, you stop talking, turn your head, and fix your gaze on them. No words. No expression. Just pure, unshaken presence. Within seconds, the room shifts. Others start noticing. The person interrupting you suddenly feels exposed, unsure of themselves. Their dominance fades, their voice falters, and they often backpedal without you saying a single word. This technique works because most people expect reactions, they thrive on conflict, defensiveness, or emotional outbursts. But when you meet their disrespect with an impenetrable wall of silence, it forces them to sit with their own behavior. It holds up a mirror to their actions, making them question themselves rather than you. And the best part? It saves your energy. You don't need to justify yourself, explain, or engage. You just stand firm in your power. Try this the next time someone disrespects you. Instead of reacting, pause, and let your silence do the talking. People will test your limits, but only you decide how far they get to go. Setting boundaries is not about being rude or aggressive, it's about self-respect. And the truth is, if you don't set clear boundaries, people will take advantage of you, intentionally or unintentionally. The most powerful way to do this? Say what you mean, and mean what you say. Imagine this, you're in a conversation, and someone keeps making disrespectful comments, dismissing your opinions, or invading your personal space. Most people either let it slide to avoid conflict or react emotionally. But here's a better approach, stay calm, and firmly state your boundary. I don't allow people to speak to me that way. No anger. No justification. Just a fact. Now, here's where many people go wrong, they set a boundary, but when they get pushback, they explain, negotiate, or soften their stance. But the moment you do that, you signal that your boundary is flexible. Here's how to handle it like a pro: if they push back, don't engage in a debate. Don't justify yourself. Instead, calmly repeat your boundary: I said I don't allow people to speak to me that way. If they continue, disengage. You don't owe anyone a debate over your self-respect. People who respect you will acknowledge your boundaries, those who don't will reveal their true nature. Either way, you win. When you set boundaries with confidence, you communicate that you are not someone who can be walked over. And that alone changes how people treat you. How many times have you felt the need to justify your decisions? You say no to an event, and suddenly you're explaining why. You set a boundary, and before you know it, you're defending it. But here's the truth, when you over-explain yourself, you give people an opening to challenge you. You signal uncertainty, and those who don't respect you will take advantage of that. Think about it. If you say, I can't come to the party because I have work early, someone might say, oh, come on. Just this once, you'll be fine. But if you simply say, I won't be there, there's nothing left to argue. A short, firm statement shuts down unnecessary debates and stops manipulative people from pushing back. When you explain too much, you're looking for approval. You're hoping they'll validate your decision. But here's the key, you don't need anyone's permission to set boundaries or make choices for your own well-being. The strongest response is the simplest one: no, I can't. That doesn't work for me. I'm not comfortable with that. No extra details. No debate. Just a fact. I once had a colleague who always questioned my choices, whether it was what I ate, how I spent my weekends, or why I didn't participate in office gossip. At first, I'd try to explain, to justify my decisions. But I realized the more I explained, the more they pushed. So I stopped. When they asked, why don't you ever go out with us after work? I simply said, I prefer to spend my evenings differently. No details. No justification. And you know what? They stopped asking. When you stop explaining yourself, you take back control of your life. Confidence isn't about convincing others to agree with your choices. It's about knowing that you don't need to. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. If someone constantly disrespects you, ignoring your boundaries, belittling you, or draining your peace, the smartest move isn't to fight for their respect. It's to remove yourself from the situation. Distance isn't about weakness, it's about self-preservation. Think of your life as a high-value space. Not everyone gets VIP access. When you continue engaging with people who disrespect you, you're allowing them to take up space in your mind and emotions. But when you choose to step back, to limit interactions, you regain control over your peace. You might wonder, but won't they think I'm being dramatic? Maybe. But that's not your problem. A person who truly respects you won't need to be convinced to treat you well. And a person who doesn't? No amount of explanation or confrontation will change them. Some people thrive on conflict, on pushing boundaries, on feeding off your reactions. The best way to win? Starve them of your presence. I once worked with someone who constantly took credit for my ideas, interrupted me in meetings, and made sarcastic comments at my expense. At first, I tried addressing it directly, hoping they'd change. But they didn't. So I changed. I stopped engaging in casual conversations. I reduced my availability. I kept interactions strictly professional. And suddenly, they had no fuel for their disrespect. Without my energy to feed on, they moved on. Keeping your distance doesn't always mean cutting someone off completely. It can be as simple as limiting conversations, disengaging emotionally, or setting firm boundaries on your availability. But the key is this: prioritize relationships that uplift you, not ones that exhaust you. If someone makes you question your worth, ask yourself, why are they still in your space? Toxic people feed on insecurity. They rely on the idea that their words or actions can make you shrink, question yourself, or feel powerless. But here's the truth: nothing unsettles them more than confidence. When you walk with purpose, speak with certainty, and carry yourself like someone who expects respect, you disrupt their control. Holding your head high isn't just about physical posture, it's a declaration. It says, I know my worth. I don't need validation. And I refuse to be diminished. It's a message that's louder than words, stronger than any comeback, and impossible to ignore. I once had a coworker who constantly threw passive-aggressive remarks my way. At first, I felt the urge to justify myself, to argue back. But then I changed my approach. Instead of reacting, I did something different. I simply smiled, straightened my posture, and responded with unwavering calm. No defensiveness. No need to prove anything. And guess what? Their comments lost their sting. They became weaker, more desperate, until they stopped altogether. Why? Because they realized their words had no power over me. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's self-assurance. It's the quiet strength of someone who doesn't need to beg for respect, because they already respect themselves. When you carry yourself this way, you send a clear message: I am untouchable. And the moment you embrace this mindset, toxic people will struggle to find a way to bring you down. So next time someone tries to undermine you, don't lower your gaze. Don't fidget. Don't shrink yourself. Instead, hold your head high. Look them directly in the eye. And let your presence remind them that you are not someone to be toyed with. Respect is not something you beg for, it's something you command by the way you carry yourself. If you constantly fight to be valued in someone's life, you're fighting the wrong battle. True respect is effortless. It's not about proving your worth, it's about showing up with confidence, setting firm boundaries, and letting people either adjust or walk away. Think about it: have you ever noticed that the most respected people don't demand it? They embody it. They don't argue, plead, or try to convince others. They simply carry themselves with quiet power, and people naturally respond. So, if you've ever been in a situation where someone disrespected you, ask yourself, did you fight for their approval, or did you stand firm in your own worth? Drop your experience in the comments. Let's build a community where people uplift, not undermine each other. And if this video helped you see things differently, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on self-respect, power, and mastering your interactions. The more you understand human behavior, the less you'll tolerate what doesn't serve you. You don't need to chase respect. Live in a way that makes people have no choice but to give it to you.